and breathe. The Town are finally up and running after winning 1-0 at Millwall on Saturday afternoon in what was a fantastic day for Luton Sport, because Linus Udofia also came out on top in his English middleweight fight. To assess the football match as a whole, alongside me I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe, and we've got Town fan Dan Barratt-Davis back for the first time this season. Gents, we can all breathe a nice sigh of relief.
Thank God. Doesn't it make the weekend go quicker and nicer?
It does, yeah. Well, as I say, we'll reflect on that game right after this intro.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the longest running Luton Town podcast, sponsored this season by Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I said before the intro, we are reviewing Millwall away, Town's first win of the season, and alongside me to do it I have the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe and Town fan Dan Barratt-Davis is with us for the first time this season. And as it's your first time with us this season, Dan, just before we get stuck into the football match itself, what did you make of Luton's start to the season?
First game was awful. Less said about that, the better. But having said that, I think Burnley are going to win it. That's my opinion. I think they just completely blew us away that night. And despite the fact they've sold about 700 players since then, I think they're still strong enough to maintain a position. But yeah, it was a disappointing start for us. Nothing seemed to go right, and we were just completely blown away. The second game did well to get a point away after Kaminsky's Karate Kid impressions, which could have done without. But on another day, we had enough chances to win that, so that was frustrating. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think we've been getting the chances, playing well, but not necessarily it's coming off. And when things don't go well for you, when you're not playing well, things tend to not go well for you. So I think Saturday was a huge sigh of relief for a lot of us, and hopefully that's the start of things to come now.
Football, Jimbo, it's a weird beast, isn't it? Because we played really well in the three games, at times in the three games prior to Millwall away. I think it's fair to say that was our worst performance since the Burnley game, and certainly our worst performance on the football, even including that Burnley game. Yet we win the game of football. I mean, if you ever think you've got football cracked, it's throw something else at you to point out that you haven't.
It does. It wasn't a glorious watch by any stretch of the imagination, but I actually think that it's probably the best result, getting a 1-0, but in a way that they have to roll their sleeves up and show they can defend. And they didn't really, Millwall were the better side in the second half, but it was so bitty and stop-start. And if Luton don't give them that chance to Langstaff, they don't really create anything until that last second Hutchinson's header, and that's really comfortable, I think, for Kaminsky, even though he had to make that save to keep hold of the 3 points. But yeah, I think it was just probably the best thing for this team to get that result in the way they did, and now maybe they can just sort of close a chapter of going ahead and getting pegged back, and the disappointments and all that has brought for 2024, the entirety of it really, and then move on. I think probably it's a platform now.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because at half time I was talking to people that I go to the football with, and those that were around us, and we were all saying we need a second goal, and that was in light of what happened against QPR, and also the fact that we probably should have had a second goal in the first half. We'll go through the match bit by bit shortly. But then I kind of said, as a caveat to that, do you know what the best thing would be if this is the final score and we get home 1-0 and we have to hang on a little bit and we have to defend for our lives and we get through it and do that, because then we'll prove to everyone that we can do that, everyone within that is, that we can do that. And also, if you think back 2 years ago, our promotion backdrop was winning games of football away from home 1-0.
Exactly.
So if we're going to do that again this season, that is so much positive. I don't actually think Luton will win many games 1-0 this season, because I think there is enough class in the front six or front five or however many it is to take teams to the sword. But you could see the longer that game went on Saturday, it was like, we are going to win this bloody game. We are not going to give up these 3 points like we surrendered the last 3 points. And credit to them for doing it, because ultimately weaker sides could have folded. You get bombarded with long balls at Millwall. It's all they throw at you.
Yeah. Literally, sometimes it's the long throws as well.
Absolutely. Literally, any time the ball is in their half, it's going straight into your penalty box. Weaker sides, given what's happened to us already this season, would have folded.
Yeah.
So we deserve immense credit for holding out.
I think so as well. It's not always about winning pretty. And how many examples do you need to show people that it's not about playing fancy football and, playing well, which, as I said before, we have been playing well, just not really getting the results. But Saturday was a completely different kettle of fish, and we've known that from the many encounters we've had with Millwall over the years, that they're tough, they're big, they're strong, not necessarily a great football inside, with the greatest respects to them, but it works for them and they make life really difficult for you. So you have to set up in such a way that you can match up to that and deal with it. So otherwise, you are going to get beat. Like you say, other teams will get beat there and they'll win lots of games there. But, we've got to make sure that we can do that when we need to. But sometimes you have to win ugly. And we did a lot of that in the promotion season as well, because we know we're good enough to do it.
You do. And you particularly have to win ugly at Millwall. They're not going to entice you into a game of football. No disrespect to them. They're mighty effective at what they do, right? And they're more than entitled to do it. It kept them up last season. Neil Harris got a pretty decent record there overall. It works, and that's absolutely fine. Would I want to pay 34 quid every Saturday to watch it? Would I heckers like? But, you have to give it their credit. It's their home ground. Usually they will make that really intimidating. Thankfully, it was a 12:30 kickoff and everyone was asleep. So it wasn't to the extent that I've been to the Den and it's been really intimidating. It was a soft touch sort of afternoon. The only time it got intimidating was when the circus that was missing its clown kind of got involved. The referee he had an absolute fucking meltdown in the second half, didn't he? But apart from that, atmosphere-wise, we'd quiet that crowd. Not that it needed much. Pretty early on, really. Let's go back to the beginning, Jimbo. Team sheet. We weren't really sure in the preview just how we were going to line up, but we did suggest that it would be Nakamba and Walsh in the centre of the park, and it was. 3 changes in total. Ted and Mengi, of course, we could forget that he didn't start against QPR, but he didn't. He came off the bench at half-time in that game. So 3 changes. Mengi, Nakamba and Walsh, and they came in for, here's my memory test, for Rue Walters, who we believe was ill in the lead up to the game, hence why he wasn't involved. Shandon Baptiste, who we're not actually sure why he was missing, and Carlton Morris dropped down to the bench for the game. Then it was all about what formation are we going to line up at. They teased us by warming up 4 defenders in a back 4 sort of when they do their heading the ball away and all that thing. They teased us that it was that, but it wasn't. It was the same 5-2-3, 3-4-2-1, however you want to picture it, with Alfie on the right wing instead of Rue Walters, and Amari Bell left wing, and then a back 3 of going left to right, Mengi, McGuinness and Burke, with, as I say, Nakamba, Walsh in front. Clark and Chong were the 2 men behind Elijah Adebayo, and it worked.
It did. For the first half, they were very good, finding lots of spaces, playing through the lines, and Chong was getting on the ball a lot, and he was proving quite effective.
That's the Chong we want to see, isn't it? The Chong that picks the ball up in the centre of the park in a bit of space and drives into that space. We've said all season long on the podcast, he's going to be the most fouled player in the Championship. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get the most free kicks in the Championship, because referees seem to ignore when he's fouled, but that was the Chong we wanted to see. I thought first half his output was really, really strong.
Yeah, he had a fantastic first half. It deserved more goals from the team, from his efforts, and the rest of the team as well. They were finding good spaces and picking apart Millwall really well. And Jordan Clark he got into good space. I don't know what he was doing with the shot and how it didn't even, you just whack one of those and hope it goes in. It was very soft. And then Elijah Adebayo had a good chance as well. And obviously Mengi, after his absolute peach of a goal, had another shot as well, which was reasonably well saved. But so the chances were there, but it was kind of at half time, you're like, oof, is this going to come back to bite us? Because that's what's happened, and that's the mindset you get into. You can understand why players might sort of get into that as well. As it turned out, they they put in a battling performance. But the first half was very, very encouraging. And it's what we've been seeing, isn't it? It's a team that is able to create chances, but so far, and still after this game, not able to put them away. When they figure that out, we've been saying for a while, there's some teams going to get a pasting, but for now, we'll take the win any way you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Not necessarily the best sort of start in terms of those first 5 minutes. Millwall had a few balls in our box, but pretty much the first time that we attacked, Chong was massive in setting up the goal. It was his cross that got deflected, looped over to the back post, headed to Doughty. I thought he'd scored. Goalkeeper stuck his foot out. Thankfully, it rebounded to Nakamba, who Ted and Mengi wanted the pass off, but he gave it to Walsh, who saw Ted and Mengi on the corner of the box. When he scored, right, Mengi, it took me 2 or 3 seconds to realise who'd scored it, because you don't expect a centre-half to be 25 yards out in open play, and B, to curl it around 4 or 5 bodies and into the bottom corner in the way that he did. Well, I knew Pelly wasn't playing, so I knew it wasn't him, and they do look very similar when they wear headbands, them two.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been Amari Bell because it was right-footed as well. Baptiste not on the pitch. Who the blood? Oh, it's Mengi. It was a lovely finish and a lovely move. But first of all, to get the chance for Alfie to hit, and then to work it back to Mengi on the edge of the box, because the way that Walsh worked it, even if Millwall had seen him and came out to him, there was no one close enough to have blocked the shot that he then hit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's sort of what's been missing in the game so far. It's not necessarily the creating the chances, but so when Doughty's shot gets missed off, sometimes that gets cleared. So for us to be able to recover, and then Walsh's quick thinking, Nakamba's calmness, Walsh's quick thinking, Mengi's alertness created the goal. And you have to say the composure of it is something, it's something a midfielder or even a striker would be really proud of. So, yeah, it's just, I must admit, I was watching on the iPad, I thought, Mengi?
Yeah.
You have to sort of double take that it's gone in. So I think it's not his first goal, was it?
Second goal, and when Mengi scores, Luton win, because his other one was against Crystal Palace at home last season.
Yeah, I was trying to remember, whether he'd scored before. But yeah, no, he took that like he's been doing it all the time, and we're told he does it every day in training, or all the time in training. So yeah, maybe we'll see more of him pushing up when we need him.
Yeah, we'll hear from Rob shortly. He confirmed in his post-match interview that Ted does do that in training, and I have to say I've seen a couple of times him do it in training as well. We must be the only club whose centre-half finishes better than the centre-forward. I jest. I'm nothing against Elijah whatsoever. I have to say, the hour that Elijah played yesterday, the work rate and the commitment and the dedication, considering he's up against Tanganga, who you can see why Luton have been linked with a lot recently. He looked the absolute dog's dangly bits. And another Beefcake Cooper alongside him. He handled them perfectly. And it was almost like the attention of those two was purely on him, because the space that Alfie had on the right-hand side, every time we found him, he had 40 yards to gallop into. He got to the byline at will. We just couldn't create that golden chance for the second, but we almost had it from I don't want to call it a half chance or a 50-50, because I thought it was slightly better than that, but Chong was really, really unlucky with his turn and shot in the box that cannoned off the post. When things are going for you, when you're on a going day, that hits the inside of the post and that's in. But the way Luton are at the moment, the way things are against us at the moment, it hits the post, it comes out. It doesn't even come out to a Luton player. It comes out ready for it to be cleared. But based on his first half performance, if that had gone in, that would really capped off Chongi's first half display, really.
Yeah, I think so. He's been threatening that, and I think he's going to be a massive player for Luton this season. We know that he's very good in the Championship. He was very good in the Premier League, to be fair. The second half of the season, even though when things weren't going very well, he was outstanding. And he's showing signs of being back at that stage. I think he's obviously got a goal already, so he's off the mark. But that sort of thing would be a massive confidence boost for him, because he creates a lot of he brings a lot of attention. And sometimes if he's not the chances that he's creating, he's going to get kicked up in the air a lot, because he's quite tricky, and quite almost he's gangly sort of running, and he gets his legs swiped a lot. And then obviously Luton thrive with set pieces in that regard. So everything he does is of a positive attitude, which is very good. And that's the good thing with, like you said, with the front six. If say like Millwall were paying a lot of attention to Elijah, and I thought Tanganga was had a very good second half. Actually, I have to give him credit for that.
He would fit in at Luton, no problem whatsoever, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He really would.
I think so.
Down that right centre half, he would be absolutely. He would just walk into the side.
Yeah, I mean, there was interest, wasn't there? And I don't know why he's gone to Millwall, but yeah, I like the look of him very much. But like I say, if he's going to be spending a lot of time focusing on Elijah and maybe another player, then Chong will have space, Clark will have space, Liam Walsh will have space as well. And I was quite pleased with the team sheet and the lineup when we saw it, because it refreshes it, and I know a lot of people have been calling for that and maybe one of the strikers to make way. I think mainly when they say that, they're talking about getting Joe Taylor in instead. But I thought the formation worked really well, and it shows the flexibility. The problem we've had is that we haven't had enough players, and they haven't had the personnel to be flexible. It's all been backs to the wall. Whoever's available can play, that sort of stuff, because of the injuries were so bad. And now we're seeing that when the players are available, and we've still got Kraus to come back, Baptiste didn't feature. There's so many options.
Brown.
Yes, Brown, absolutely. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. James mentioned about sort of feeding on set pieces and things, and we almost had a second from a set piece towards the end of the first half. Lovely curling ball in from Alfie. Is that free kick that we always do? Usually it's Morris at the back stick, isn't it?
Yeah.
With no Morris on Saturday, it was McGuinness who went to the back post. He attacked it, got beaten to it by the Millwall defender. To be fair, Cooper's a very, very good header of the ball. He almost scored in the first half with one. But thankfully it went up in the air and it came down, and on the volley, that man again, Mengi, he's caught it with his swinger, as he described it in an interview to Three Counties, but he's caught it really well. I thought it was in. In fact, I thought it was more in than the first one that he hit. But from nowhere, the goalkeeper appeared and pushed it around the post. Really, really good save. But again, had we got that second goal, it wouldn't have been anything that we didn't deserve.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah. Although for large parts of it, I thought it was, although I still think Luton were fairly comfortable. In that we were threatened a couple of times, obviously the set pieces, the long throw-ins and things like that. But other than that, I don't really feel like Millwall really worried us too much as such. It was more of a Luton performance, if you like, because we had to, obviously, like I said earlier, dig in and get dirty at times, but like you said, with the set pieces, they're improving. They're obviously a big part of our game. McGuinness will be useful from those. His header led to the goal against QPR as well, which needs pointing out after people slagging him off that night. I think his height and his physical presence there will benefit us, and he'll get goals from that position. But again, like I said, with building up to Mengi's goal, recovery, getting the second ball in, and creating a chance. Okay, we missed one. Let's try and get back and get another chance. That's encouraging to see. And I think if we keep doing that, keep playing like that, we'll be okay. I think we'll get back to the expectations that everybody's working towards. That everybody expects. Everyone expects at least top 6 this year. Get back in the Premier League. So yeah, keep doing that. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we're only 5 points off the playoffs, so
that's encouraging.
Certainly
running out of time though.
Yeah, certainly no need to worry with 41 games left about not necessarily getting into the top 6. That's for sure. No one really looks fantastic in this division. I mean, even Sunderland, supposedly fantastic Sunderland went to Plymouth of all places and lost on Saturday. So, we're all experienced in the Championship. We've done 4 years of it. Everyone beats everyone in this league. You just got to beat more than some of the others. Half-time came, really, really comfortable at half-time, but you kind of knew, Millwall would be better than they were in the first half because they had to make that change up front, didn't they? I didn't actually see what happened with Coburn, but he took an age to stroll off, and they brought Langstaff on. Now, when the team sheets were announced, I saw he was on the bench. I thought, that's a touch, because he's scored about 5 million goals in the last 3 seasons for Nottingham County, hasn't he? And then he came on. But they're different players, aren't they? Coburn looks really, really tall. Ideal for what Millwall bring, whereas Langstaff a little bit shorter, kind of run. I get the impression he will run in behind more than get his head on things. So they were going to change, and we were going to tire. 2 men in the centre of the park ain't played 90 minutes this year. So, we were naturally going to tire. You also had Mengi, who's still building up his fitness, Reece Burke as well. So it was one of those, can we hold out? And just how good are they going to be? Well, they weren't much better, Millwall, to be fair. They were throwing a lot more balls in the box, and they've brought a couple more wingers on that got them further down the pitch to throw them balls in the box with. But nothing that McGuinness couldn't handle when, thankfully this time he did decide to head everything rather than the QPR game, where, of course, he made that fatal error of not. And actually, I wouldn't say if a goal was coming, it was coming to us. But we had a couple of sort of chances with Liam Walsh arriving late in the box. One he hit the side netting with just outside the post, and another one, it kind of opened up for him, and I'm not sure he realised it did open up for him, and he shot straight at the keeper from just on the edge of the penalty box. But, he did have slightly more time to kind of pick a corner out there if he'd wanted to. But I like the fact that he arrives late on the edge of the box, because that's something we don't necessarily do, get that kind of man in and around the box. Usually everyone floods the box, don't they? But if we're going to play that cross that gets headed out, if he's going to be there, you can see him getting 5 or 6 goals this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the things that Luke Perry used to pick up quite well as well, and obviously he's not here anymore, so it's good to have that. I think if Liam Walsh had played a lot more football, that shot ends up in the net. It just hasn't had that much, and I think he's got enough quality to usually put that either side of the goalkeeper, because if he does, it's in. I mean, the goalkeeper had a relatively good game for the opportunities he did stop, but I like that about him.
There's so much I like.
I like a lot about him, really.
I said it when we done the QPR and Preston review, didn't I? We only saw 45 minutes of him at QPR and 20 minutes of him at Preston. There is so much to like about this guy. His passing range is on a par with Ross Barkley's. Do not worry about that. His technical ability isn't, because he's not Ross Barkley, but his passing range is. My God, does he love a tackle? He flew into 3 or 4 tackles in that first half that I was like, he's only a small lad and going up against, going into the land of the giants and things. He gets stuck in. He's got a determination about him. I like him a lot.
Can I tell you something else that I think I noticed as well? I think he's the emerging new king of shithousery, and that can only be good.
And there is so much to like about this guy, and that was his first 90 minutes in I don't know how long, but a long time. He's only going to get better from now.
Yeah, no, he is, and but there's the same. So many Luton's players. It's it was spoken about a lot, particularly by Rob Edwards, who said that, we're going to get stronger, we'll grow when all the players come back and stuff. And I can understand football mainly focuses on the here and now, isn't it? So I can forgive people who didn't want to hear that at the time, but I think it was true at the time. If you could see the bigger picture, and it's starting to become true now. That
it was only a month, wasn't it? He wasn't saying, you've got to wait 12 months. It's only a month. It was only 4 games of football, the way that this structure is at the minute. That international break was always going to benefit us, and it has benefited us. You have to look at the squad. Moses was on the bench as well. We massively used that international break. We looked so much better for it. We looked so much more cohesive defensively. At no stage where 3 at the back were we out of position, like QPR got us out of position. There were always 3 centre-halves. Even when one went forward, the fullback knew to fill in, or Marv filled in, and obviously it massively helped having Marv in there. So it looked better, but the tiredness did come. It was always going to. Marv hasn't played 90 minutes. I can't even remember. Are we talking November, aren't we?
It was December. It's last game anyway, so we've not started since December, but yeah, I don't know if it's full 90 minutes because he came off in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, so you're talking sort of 9 months. We got, if you include first half injury time, we got 70 minutes out of him. That was really good. He was tiring. He went off. Pelly came on, which was fine. It's not like for like, but it's as good a like for like as we're going to get right now whilst we're getting Krause up to fitness. But then, of course, Pelly, we've seen this so many times. Pelly takes a little run of games to get up to his optimum level. And he played a pass. The first thing you're taught, never play a square pass in your own half. He's played a square pass to Liam Walsh. It was no fault of Walsh at all. It's getting nowhere near him. It's read by the Millwall guy. I think it was Watmore. Pokes it through for Langstaff. He's clean through 1-on-1. Reece Burke makes an attempt to get back to him. Soon realises he's not going to. Goes around the other side of the keeper just in case, he rounded the keeper or whatever. Thankfully, Langstaff shoots and TK just gets his foot to it, diverts it wide. It was a pivotal moment in the way that Elijah's chance against QPR was, and thankfully it was the same outcome. Goalkeeper got the better of it.
Yeah. I mean, it was sort of a fist in your mouth moment, wasn't it? It was like, oh God, here we go again. I don't know. The Pelly haters must have enjoyed that one, unfortunately, and I don't like that, to be honest. It doesn't mean he's immune for criticism, like you just said. It was a bad pass, and it does take your time. I don't care what anyone says. If you've had a little spell out or not been playing regular games, the chances are you are going to make routine errors, and it happens. And fortunately, he got away with it. He can't be doing that too many times, but he knows that. They all know that. And this is the other thing as well. Every footballer, when he makes a mistake, knows he's done it before anybody in the crowd's realised. So, it was crap. Let him know it's crap, obviously, but don't go overboard with it and just move on. TK got him out of jail, so let's move on. It worked out.
That's why you're
Learn
a team.
from it.
Yeah, that's why you're a team, isn't it? If you make a cock up, you need your teammates to bail you out of it, and they did. Now, how many times has Kaminsky made a mistake and we've gone up the other end and scored and got, it will level it all levels itself out. Not Kaminsky, a goalkeeper, not necessarily him. But what Pelly was brought on for was to drive us forward, get the ball down that other end of the park, carry with it, try and entice some fouls, and he did that a lot in the last 10 minutes. So yes, that pass for the chance that we created for them was crap, but the bits that he was brought on for, he did show signs of doing. So, you need to give him that. The only other chance they had, Mengi got caught on the ball, didn't he? Sort of on the edge of our box. Just by this time, we're going into injury time. Just get the fucking thing to somewhere near West Ham. Don't. I know we're turning into a passing team and we want to control the football and we don't want it coming straight back at us, which obviously it did yesterday. But when you're in the 92nd minute and 5 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever it was added, that's the time where you can abandon that football nonsense and get it down in the corner. And if they're going to rebuild, they can rebuild from their own corner. We didn't. Ended up going out for a corner to them. Came over Hutchinson, who came on at half-time for Cooper, which was a right touch because he was looking a right threat, Cooper, from set pieces. Hutchinson got up. Like you said earlier, good save from Kaminsky. You'd expect him to make that save. If he didn't make the save, Reece Burke was on the line potentially to head it away anyway. It wasn't going in. Or it wasn't going to beat both of them to go in anyway. But it was another one of those that, now that we've overseen that chance, it was like, whew, maybe our luck is turning.
Yeah, I hope so. It certainly, it feels like we deserve it after the first 4 games, doesn't it? But it was just that sort of gritty determination that you sort of love to see. If things ain't going right, that shows a sign of a team that is determined to put it right in any which way. And, we want to see wonderful attacking football. Of course we do. And you saw it in the first half, but you just couldn't keep that up. There's also a couple of other factors that I have to give Millwall credit for as well. I mean, they're statistically better in the second half this season. They've had the most shots in the second half. Prior to this game, the most shots, I don't know where they all went, but they had the most shots and they've been a lot more effective, scored most of their goals in the second half. So they were always going to come on stronger. And their press was quite frustratingly effective. And Luton did struggle to get out sometimes. And maybe it does take a bit of a long ball in that situation. It's a couple of unforced errors, I think, as well. The Pelly one being the biggest one. But so they were quite effective in that. They're quite impotent in the goal scoring stakes. And if Pelly doesn't make that mistake, they don't even have a sniff.
They're still in now, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have a sniff. So, there were parts that Millwall did really well. You can't just say Luton didn't play well in that second half. You have to give Millwall some credit. But sometimes you're going to have to go to grounds like that and grind it out, and that's what it shows. So that's good. I mean, they played 80 minutes trying to defend that lead effectively, didn't they? So, there's a lot of positives in the way that they went about that. It's just
it wasn't aesthetically positive, was it? That was the thing. Just on that playing out and playing out for the back. As a crowd, right? We have to get used to this. This is how they're playing. They're not going to change. Kaminsky's been booked twice now for time wasting, trying to work out how the opposition are going to press us and things. We are going to play out from the back. We've signed Liam Walsh, who is good at taking the ball under pressure. We've signed Tom Krause, who we're led to believe is the same. Shandon Baptiste also. Whether we like it or we don't, Rob Edwards' philosophy is we're going to play out from the back. He's got this long-term approach in mind that when we go back to the Premier League, we want to fight fire with fire and we're going to do what teams do to us. We're going to have to get used to this. Now, when they're dicking about with it at the back and it looks like they're going to lose it, don't, and I know it's so hard to do, don't add to the anxiety by like, I'm getting on their backs and everything. Just have a little bit of trust in them that they are going to mess up. The best teams that do this mess up from time to time. The ones that overdo it and continually mess up, your Southamptons, your Burnleys, that's what we don't want to become. But we have to do this because we have to bring sides onto us to allow us to have that space that Chong got yesterday, that Clark got yesterday, and that others around him get. So that's the philosophy behind it. As a crowd, we now need to play our part. And as I say, it is so hard to do because I was sitting there like, but we really, the players just need that composure to be able to do it, not us getting on their backs by doing it. It is a strict tactic that Rob is trying to install every single day on the training ground. And when it works, we'll be away and gone and we will create chances from it. When it doesn't work and it ends up in the back of the net on the one or two occasions that we're just going to have to grin and bear it. I'm afraid that's just how it is. But we can play our part by just watching it, leaving it be, and, not getting on their backs when they're trying to do it because they are being coached to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, from a personal level, I remember the days of the conference, I had to make peace with the fact that throughout the 90 minutes, I wasn't going to be entertained the whole time and it was going to be really crap a lot of the time, and it was. And I made peace with the fact that when I left Kenilworth Road after 90 minutes, as long as we got the 3 points, that is ultimately all that matters. So I've been able to make peace with that. That said, like you said, it is frustrating. I'm not a fan of this playing out from the back. I like to switch it around a bit personally, because I think that way you keep the opposition guessing. But Rob's philosophy is obviously, like you said, play out from the back, and we're just gonna. And I think when I played as well, and I've played in a lot of crap Sunday league sides, as long as you've got the ball, the philosophy was always as long as you've got the ball, they can't score from it. Now, like you say, we're going to make mistakes. We're not robots. We're human beings, and the players are the same. They're going to make mistakes, and if any fan can look themselves in the mirror and say, "I've never made a mistake in my life," go and tell the players that, and then please tell them how perfect you are and why you're so perfect and how you'd have done that pass better, etc. It's like I said in the last little bit as well. That's what happens. You make mistakes. It just happens. They know they've made it before anyone else does. It is frustrating, and a lot of people around me get really frustrated at stuff like that. And it's hard to tell people. I don't want to turn around and go, "Oh, shut up, will you?" Sort of thing. I try and just sit quiet and let them play, let them do the thing. When they make a mistake, but you just try and gear them up, get clapping, get moving on. It's not happy clapping. That's a stupid phrase as well. It's we're trying. It is a stupid phrage.
It is.
It's a stupid. It's a pathetic phrase, and it's for people who just want to moan. Like when we signed Ross Barkley, well, what good's he?
It's,
do you know what I mean? They're the type of people, they just want to moan. We could beat Real Madrid 4-1 in the Champions League final and they'll moan about the defending for the Real Madrid goal. Stop. It's not. It's just, when you conceded a goal, they need you more than ever.
That's it. We will concede goals doing this.
Yeah,
but
of course we'll.
Football coaching these days, because football's becoming so robotic, so computer game-ish, isn't it? Because everyone are trying to do the same thing. It's now, coaching's all balanced on a risk and reward, and Rob obviously thinks the reward of doing this far outweighs the risk of doing this. The risk being that if one of your defenders makes a cock up and gives it straight to the striker, chances are it's going to end up in the back of your net. But the reward being, if they do beat the press, the original press, we've got a front six that's going to cause some serious damage at the other end, and that's just the way it is. The other reason why he does it is because when they've assessed their injury situation, a lot of their injury situation is because they're running themselves into what coaches these days call the red zone, because they're forever chasing the football. So if we've got more of the football, we'll be doing less chasing of the football, and in turn, they won't be running themselves into the red zone, and they'll be able to go for longer, on more occasions. So there is, I hate the phrase, but there is method behind the madness, isn't there? And we are just going to have to, as a crowd, try and get used to it and just allow them the best chance to do it. Because if we're getting anxious, Kaminsky's right in front of us. He's not the most natural on the football. He'll admit that. He did when we had him on the podcast. He said, I'm a shot stopper primarily, but I'm working on the rest of my game. If he's getting anxious, that's going to bring it all down like a house of cards. We can't, as I say, it's so hard. I sat there yesterday, like nervous as anything when we were trying to do it. But the long-term rewards of it are there.
Yeah, I think so. But from a football philosophy point of view, it's nothing new either. This risk and reward notion was brought in last season in the Premier League. It's just that obviously the risk was a lot higher and the punishments were a lot higher, as we saw. But it sort of took hold and came to fruition after that Brentford game, where it was just passive and terrible, and that's where he started to change things. And all the players were then started to talk about risk and reward and what that means. And you can't not have that if you want to play this attacking style of football that Rob Edwards has been talking about. And so, yeah, at the minute, it's not showing signs that you can score 2, 3, 4, or 5 goals at the moment. But the chances are there, and that's the main thing. If you were just like getting the odd goal out of nothing when you haven't played particularly well or had any creative ideas going forward, then it would be a worry. But I don't think so at the moment. I do genuinely believe they are going to give somebody a hiding, but and hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think there's a lot of positives in the way that they can play with the personnel they've got at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it is. It's different for us. We're not, as Luton fans, we're not used to it. We're used to playing 2 big strikers, whacking it long. I'm talking over a 30-year period, going back as far as the MacArthur days. You're used to whacking it up for the striker to hold up and bringing players in around him. That's not the modern game. The modern game is now that the defensive midfielder is the one who holds the ball and brings the players into him, and that's why Nakamba's in the side. And
it's arguably as well sort of an almost English philosophy of football, and it's changing. Like the younger generation be more au fait with tactics and stuff like that, but and I don't want to tar this all the older generation. Obviously, let's just say there was some people, and you'll hear them get it forward. But to what? And to what? To do what? Just pump it forward and let somebody chase a loose ball. Doesn't seem very sophisticated to me these days, and it isn't.
Or pump it forward for them to get it, and it comes straight back anyway. So you start at square one. So you might as well try and keep hold of it.
Yeah.
And progress your way up the pitch from there.
There was a great example in the Burnley game, and I come to blows with my mate who I go to games with. Well, we nearly came to blows with. I managed to get my point across quite well. There was a position where Shandon Baptiste had the ball towards our halfway line, still in our own half, and he was looking, and I could see what he was trying to look at, trying to go for. No movement up top, and he passed it back, and people started getting. I was like, why are we getting upset? He's kept the ball. He's got nothing to go for, and then, I should get it forwards. We're losing. Shouldn't be wasting time as well. Where's he going to go? And that's been a big problem. But it's part of how we play, and they've obviously been told not to move too much up front for some reason because he wants to build it and wear the opposition down, presumably, and get the ball. I was always taught at school, let the ball do the work. If you're doing that, they're chasing, you're not running as much. So do that, and it eventually got my point across. But I mean, that was a frustrating night altogether. But like you say, it's the system we're playing.
It's definitely.
I'm fairly certain that you wouldn't have that conversation if you were Spanish. I just don't think it exists in their culture.
No,
I think it's an English thing.
I can't speak Spanish either.
I mean, let's be honest. It's Guardiola who's brought it in, isn't it? Since he come over from Man City, the game has changed.
But it's not even that. I mean, it has now in the modern way, but his style of football is just the Dutch Ajax style of football on steroids, really, isn't it? It's Johan Cruyff football, and he probably was some sort of mentor there at Barcelona. We were both there.
He played under him.
Yeah. So it's that style of football, and the Dutch were doing that in the 70s. The Hungarians came to England and battered us at Wembley, playing a football that we'd never ever seen before, because we did that English football, get it forward to the big guy, and it didn't work. And these things change, and I don't think that's it's not that if you're expecting that, like you say, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it's all about finding space.
Yeah, you are. You are going to. I mean, the obvious caveat and the reason why is because we got out of this division with an average of 40 to 45% possession, working hard and everything else. It's got, for the want of a better phrase, lumping it up to Morris and Elijah and feeding off the second balls around him and things. And we did get out of the division doing that. And that is a fair enough argument. However, we're at a point now as a club where we don't want to be in this league. We've tasted the Premier League. We don't just want to be in the Premier League. We want to stay in the Premier League. And you're not going to stay in the Premier League if you lump it up with 40, 45% of possession to a striker and hope that you win the second balls. A, because the defenders are better, so your striker's probably not going to hold it up as easily anyway. And two, because if you give a team of any nature in the Premier League 55% of possession, the chances are it's going in the back of your net a hell of a lot more than it is if a Championship side gets 55% of possession. So if we're going to stay in the Premier League when we get there, whether we get there this season, next season, or when it is we get back there, Rob believes that the best way to do it is by playing this way that everyone else is playing. And he's coaching players who, let's be fair, are ingrained until that Brentford game. They're ingrained in working hard, getting the ball to the centre forward and running off of them. So it's different for them as well. Most of these players that we're asking to do it come from lower leagues as well, where, you ask a lower league to play tiki-taka and they're like, what's going on here sort of thing. So it is a gradual thing, but there have been so many signs in these 5 games, just when you see us in possession, that we are grasping it. But it's a natural instinct that when the attackers are closing in on us, when we're in defence doing it, to get kind of fidgety and things. But that can filter down. And that's the thing that, as a crowd, we need to kind of do our best to just ease up with a little bit. And as I say, it is tough. I found it hard yesterday, even though I understand what they're trying to do. It is hard, but if we can get to a position whereby we're comfortable watching them do it, I think it will make it a lot easier for them to do it because they've not got that anxiety of 3,000 Luton fans behind them.
I just think it's better. It's better that the transition is made now to this style of football than further down the line. The starkest example of where that difference in style is like you say, got up to the Premier League playing a certain way, and then you get to the Premier League, and then suddenly you play Brighton at their place and go, "Woof, this is a different game, mate. It's an absolutely different game." And then the transition took too long, and it's not Luton's fault. And they had the players they had. We talk often about that Luton got to grips with the Premier League in January when they had the full squad to pick from. The injuries is a different issue, but that stylistically that they would get into grips with it. But it took that. It was 10 games.
It took too long.
It took too long.
Yeah,
and you can't do that. If you go up to the Premier League again, you've got to be on a level footing as much as possible. You're still going to be the underdogs, but it can't take 10 games again to get up, because that was a killer as much as the injury situation in the second half of the season.
Yeah, when we get back in the Premier League, the very first whistle in the Premier League, we've got to be playing Premier League football of our quality. Whether that's quality enough for the division or not will remain to be seen. But we've got to be playing our quality of Premier League football, not our Championship football in the Premier League. And I said a few podcasts ago, might have been the first one when we did it for the season preview, we have to use the Championship as a way that when we finish the Championship, we are ready as if the first game of the Premier League is the very next day. And I'm sure that's what Rob's doing.
And it can be done as well. I mean, you look at Burnley; they won the Championship last time round, playing a Premier League style of football. Now, where they fell down in the Premier League is they refused to have a plan B. Absolutely refused. and they got punched in the nose too many times. But they had a Premier League style of football to cope with that. That's why they got Vincent Kompany, and he was trying to instill that. But there's sort of you have to marry that style of football with a bit of pragmatism as well when you go up as well. And I think, like I say, the better the transition comes now, because you're not going to get punished as much. Although the first 4 games didn't say that, but hopefully that's turned the corner. But it did, because Langstaff didn't take the points.
I was going to say, we haven't conceded a goal because of doing this. All the goals we've conceded have been mistakes, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, even the Burnley game, third one was from a set piece, so that's nothing to do with playing out from the back. And the fourth one they caught was from our own throw-in, that's not playing out from the back. And the first 2 were 2 long balls from them over the top. we haven't actually conceded a goal playing out. Yeah, we should have done yesterday. Of course, we should have done. Langstaff should have scored. You know, a championship striker should score that
On
in the
another
same
day
way
he
that
will,
Elijah
yeah.
should score against QPR.
Yeah.
But you know, we are very good at getting the ball off opposition in this situation. In fact, we score an awful lot of goals with our high press. So we have to expect teams to high press us, and it's just the way football is right now. It's cyclical. It will turn again, I'm sure, in 10 years' time or whatever. But for right now, that's how we are going to become a Premier League side and stay in it.
Yeah, I mean, can you even call the one yesterday playing out from the back? He was playing around the centre circle, wasn't it? It was just because it was a
Sorry, I
loose
didn't mean.
pass, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
you're right. I didn't mean the Langstaff one. I meant the one where Mengi got caught on the ball that ended up. Yeah, got my chances confused there. You're absolutely right. The Pelly one's just a bad pass in the centre of the park. They happen, and it is what it is. But yeah, if we can just kind of function into our psyche that's what we're going to watch now, I think it does. I think it will make it an awful lot easier for us as watchers, because we don't want to sit there, you know, with heart palpitations and everything every time that the ball goes across the back three. And it will certainly help the players if they've not got that anxiousness from the stands. I don't know if the anxiety feeds into them, but it can't help, can it? Certainly it'll be a lot easier playing it without the anxiety than
there's
with it.
There's other symptoms as well, isn't it? There's the whole of this calendar year, defeat after defeat, it takes its toll. And maybe that changes now.
Yeah.
Well, this is the turning point. It's not going to be total change. There are going to be some ups and downs and stuff, but we needed that first win to get over the end of last season.
Yeah, we can put that to bed now, can't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, last year's gone.
Yeah, and this one win in 20 nonsense. Let's just forget that now. Season started yesterday.
The thing is with that as well, you're playing different opposition, and like we just said, you know, in the January we were looking really, really good, weren't we? And it was, you know, as soon as the transfer window shut and we felt, right, we've got enough here, everyone died, got injured and stuff. So we ended up having to fill a bench with children, really, and 2 goalkeepers and kids. And that was frustrating because, you know, where we needed to make changes, we couldn't because people were already injured and then other people were getting injured. And it just, you know, so that's why that happened. And we were playing against some of the best sides in the country, the best sides in the country. So, yeah, and bad starts happen. They do. And like you just said about the style he wants to play, it takes time to integrate. We're playing different opposition because we're in a different league. We've got a new set of players. So it all those ingredients, they all marry in, and you need time in football. You can't have too much. Obviously, like we said with the Premier League season, you can't have too much time because that costs you a place. But like you said, this is all about building up to stay.
Well, wins always help.
They do.
The wins are going to make people feel a lot happier about it. And if you go on a decent run, then playing out from the back's not so bad. It's a confidence thing, isn't it? And not necessarily for the players, because Rob said in his pre-match that it was not a confidence issue. Sorry, it was in the post-match after QPR. So it's not a confidence issue. It was more of a concentration issue, which is what that game ended up being, and that's where the goals came from in that 3 minutes of madness. But I think it's a confidence issue from the stands, I think, isn't it? And, you know, wins change that. They always will.
Yeah, they do. As we said after that QPR game, when we reviewed that in the podcast, the stronger the team. So if we can do our little bit from the stands just to appease this style of play that our manager wants to play, then that will help all round, I'm sure. Let's hear from the manager. He spoke to the club spoke on the club channels straight after the game, and well, here's what Rob made of a gritty, gutsy win.
Obviously pleased to get the win. Nice for the supporters. It's been a long time coming. I get their frustration, so pleased for them. Can go and have a nice weekend. We can play better, but we showed some fight and character and heart and desire and all those things that you've got to be able to show. Maybe 1 or 2 people are questioning that on us, but you know, that's got to be a given, especially in this league. But I would want us to try and take more control. I thought we showed it in moments in that first half. When we got the goal, I thought we might be able to try and take the game away from them, but it became so scrappy, stop-start, direct, first ball, second ball, long throw. Didn't enjoy it, really. Enjoyed the final whistle. Disappointing, really, that we gave them that header right at the end. And obviously the other big save came from a turnover from us as well. So a couple of bits there that we can be better at. We've probably been punished in previous games in those moments. So the fine margins of football. But yeah, needed our goalkeeper in a couple of key moments, and he stepped up and did his job really well. It's been a long time coming. Some relief, but we just want to win games. We want to try and play well, better than that, really. But we want to win, and yeah, look, it's good. It's hard to come away from home. It's hard to come here. They make it very difficult, and just want us to we got it in us to make that easier than what it was. We have, so got to demand more. But look, it's a nice feeling. People can enjoy their weekend, I suppose.
That was the thoughts of Rob. I have to say, it looked like someone had stolen his dinner money, didn't it? I mean, we've just won a game of football, and he's, he looked a little bit cheesed off from it. Clearly, he wasn't happy with certain elements of that second half. I think we know exactly what he means. He kind of heightened the fact that we gave away 2 chances that we shouldn't be giving away. And, I see it as a positive, though, really. The fact that we win a game and we've got room for improvement and things to work on. I mean, if that's the finished product and we deliver that performance, then you're like, woof, we are in a spot of bother here. But the fact that there is something to work on, having won the game, it's a lot easier to build on a winning than trying to sort something out when you've lost.
I took it more as a sense of not trying to go too overboard. You've won one game.
Sod that, go overboard, man. Like, when he was here the first time round, as soon as he came in, he said, yeah, dream of getting promotion. And we were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Promotion? We're 10th in the bloody table. And he was telling us that from day one.
Yeah.
Go overboard, man.
Yeah, but you hadn't gone half a year without winning a game of football. It's probably the situation that, and what happened at the beginning of the season, the reactions and stuff like that probably contributes slightly to that. But I think if you want a true sense of what he was feeling is when he went over to the crowd at the end, and is the rare sight of a Rob Edwards fist pump to the crowd, and that's the relief of it, isn't it? And ultimately, that's probably what you're feeling. But if you're not as a manager thinking, how can we make that better, then you're not doing a good job here.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. He's, as we said before we heard from him, he's got a philosophy that he wants to play. Everyone's got to play it, and if you don't play it, or by not playing it gets us into trouble, he's going to work on that. We're not a finished product. That's the good thing. We're not a finished product. We want to get there as quickly as we can, but we are still building. We're still getting players back. Speaking of players, I want to pick out some individuals. Reece Burke, given man of the match on Sky, absolutely immense. When this guy is in the centre of our defence looks so much better. And that's no disrespect to anyone else. He is just a bloody good footballer.
I just wish he wasn't made of glass.
But if he wasn't made of glass, he'd be playing for Man City or someone like that. He wouldn't be playing for Luton.
So to our advantage, yeah. I mean, you have to accept with Reece that you're going to get, if you get a run of 6 games, you've done well with him not getting injured. But
he surpassed that, didn't he? I think he's got past that. I think
he has.
And now he just needs to have a good run of games in the team.
I seem to remember Pelly having the same problem in the lower leagues.
He did.
Yeah, and it took him a long time, and then he played every minute of the League One season. So I think Reece can do that if they get it right. I don't know what problems he's got because they seem to be ongoing, but like you said, when he plays, we are safer. We are a lot safer, and I think he's going to play a huge part this season. If Saturday's anything to go by, and what we know about Reece anyway, what we've had him now, 2-3 years, there isn't a better centre back.
No, I mean we're talking.
When he's on his day.
I mean, we're talking about a fella who came off the bench at Wembley and kept a geezer who ain't leaving Sporting Lisbon for the better part of 100 million quid now. Quiet. Quiet. That
stopped him.
That's the level that we're talking. Do you know what I love about There's so much actually that I love about Reece Burke, but the thing I loved about him yesterday is he must know that his body lets him down, right? But there were 3 or 4 50-50 challenges yesterday that he didn't back out of. He was straight in there and he got up and he limped away from one. In the crowd, you're like, oh, don't do it, Reece. We need you. But he's straight in there. It's like team first, my body later. And that epitomises the whole sort of crux of our club now, really, And it's so easy for someone who's constantly injured, because he doesn't want to be injured. He wants to be playing football every week just to not go into these challenges. And I know you're probably more likely to get injured if you go in half-hearted than if you go in fully. But there's only so many injuries that you'd have thought before he just thinks, what, fuck it, I'm not going to go in for that tackle. I'll back off and I'll try and win it when he's got it, sort of thing. But no, straight in there. And it was a large reason why we kept a clean sheet.
It was. He was my man of the match as well. So I'm glad that Sky agreed with me. But
not sure it's good on your part that Sky agreed with you. But you know,
It says more about you than ever.
No, I thought he was. I thought he was outstanding, and he usually is when he's playing for Luton. There's so much to like about him, and you know, he from the hair downwards. I mean, that is some incredible hair. I'm very jealous. He must do his hair with anti-gravity potion or something, because it
To see you're trying to
never
emulate
moves.
it.
I can't get near it. Can't
Wrong
get
colour.
near it. What a bunce that is. This great. But yeah, all the way down to his feet, which are pretty handy as well. So you know, he is a full-blooded defender. Rob has told. I don't know if he ever says this on record. He might have done, if you've heard it. But we have a little chat sometimes after pressers, and he says he has to sometimes tell Reece to tone it down a bit, because he just wants to be out there, you know, rifling into tackles all the time and stuff. And you know, maybe that's to his detriment stuff, but that shows a level of good man management, trying to, you know, manage that so he doesn't have so many injuries, because when he does play, I feel so much more confident in what Luton are trying to do defensively. He's a wonderful defender, and like you said, if he wasn't made of glass, he'd be playing much higher. And that's the same as so many of Luton's players.
Yeah.
Like if certain players could score more goals, they'd be in. If you know, that's where Luton do their business, and they get those players that have got something about them that they can then try and improve. And obviously, to do that, you need to play a run of games, and hopefully that will be Reece now, because if he does, it's a great defence.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we've covered Walsh, and we covered Chong, and to a lesser extent Elijah, as we were talking through the game. So just two others. May as well come to you as you're wearing his shirt. Marvellous Nakamba. I mean, the bloke. There isn't a Luton fan alive that doesn't love Marvellous Nakamba.
How can you
Largely because of the bloke he is.
Yeah.
But he's just so calm, isn't he? I mean, he could be in a tornado and he'd just stand there and get his way out of it. He is so good.
He'd intercept it with
He would. He would, yeah. By the way, Ted Mengi's the new Magic Man.
Yes, he's got Matty Pearson's.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, about time someone took that song. But
To be fair, you could see someone lobbing a brick at Mengi and he would head it away. I can see that. I can see that happening. That's an absolute perfect man to take over from that song. But yeah, Marvellous Nakamba.
Yeah.
Throughout his whole Luton career, the geezer's just not got an ego. He just gets the ball off the opposition. He says, "You're better at attacking than what I am. Here's the ball. Go and do your thing." And he's done it so many times yesterday, even to the point where he wouldn't set up Mengi. He gave it to Walsh to go and do his thing for the goal. And Walsh was like, "No, you're better at the position than me, Mengi." But he's just so good at what he does, Marvellous. He has to be the most unnoticeable footballer Luton have ever had in terms of what you notice compared to his actual importance. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he's a holding midfielder, and most of their job is do all the dirty work that doesn't go unnoticed. But he's the type of player you just notice because of how good he is and how simple he makes all that dirty stuff look. I remember his debut, he came on, I think, for half an hour or whatever it was, and he just intercepted, picked up a ball from in front of the player that he was marking, from behind the player he was marking, just picked it, turned it around, moved it. Simple, took 2 seconds. Whereas normally you'd see people trying to foul or, you know, really struggle to get hold of the ball, but he just nipped it off him, took control, 1 touch, 3 touch pass, and that's what you want, you know. And he makes it look so easy. Makes it so easy. I just wish he wasn't injured all the time either.
Yeah, again.
But again, like James said, you know, we're very good at picking players up that are really good and should be playing at high level, but we've made a team out of it. But it's just balancing them. You know, that's why we've got a second 11, because someone is always injured. You have to bring someone else in, and you know, everyone gets a fair game time if you like. But no, just seeing his name on the team sheet Saturday was a huge sigh of relief, and you just hope that he can get 90 minutes in sooner rather than later, and you know, we're back on track again, I think, because he is the driving force behind the midfield that allows everyone else to do the job. Like you say, he's not fancy. He doesn't want to do the fancy stuff. He doesn't want to score goals all the time. You know, he'd rather someone else take the credit. He's just the ultimate team player. And it's huge credit for us.
He is, and I do him a disservice by describing him the way that I do, because he is just so important. But what we don't tend to talk about, he's so comfortable on the ball.
Yeah.
Very, very, very rarely misplaces a pass. I mean, you can count the misplaced passes over a bunch of games on one hand. Really, there certainly wasn't any yesterday, and you immediately saw the difference in his comfort on the ball, and obviously Pelly's shortly after. He's just so good.
Yeah, and I think it's probably not quite accurate to say he can't pick a pass and doesn't do some good stuff. It's just that most of his passes are short passes to, like you say, the players that are in space, but to find them in the first place is sometimes challenging, which hadn't been the case for Luton before, when we were more used to the directness of getting the ball up. But but if we're going to play out from the back, his protection of the back four is vital. He can read a game very well, and he knows where to be. But then that ability to, and sometimes in tight spaces, get hold of it, find the player that's 10 yards away, but in a far more decent position than him to affect the game. I think he's there's a lot to him that makes Luton tick, and he was a major part of Luton going up.
Oh, he was the difference. We were struggling to keep clean sheets. There was a reason why when we went behind, we couldn't get a result for love nor money, and he was the difference. A, we weren't going behind as often, and B, when we were, we still had that shield that we could go and sort it out. You was in Rob's pre-match press conference, and there was a mention about his training being different. Marvs, did he elaborate on it?
Yeah, it's more that he's been out for such a long time that he's not going to be able to train every day at the moment. I don't think it's a Ledley King situation. Right. You know what I mean? But it was such a bad injury that they don't want to take any risks in that regard, and I think that's fine. He's got the quality, and I don't want to do this unfairly, but if you did put him up next to Pelly, and we say that Pelly needs a few games to get up to speed, I think Marvellous Nakamba, the only thing they'd be lacking would be the puff to get around the pitch for the full amount of time, but its quality on the ball and his ability to read the game would still be there. So I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he just wants to rock up on a Saturday and not bother with the training ground ever again, as long as he can play like he did on Saturday, then I'm absolutely fine with it. Not a problem at all. The other one, just quickly to touch on, in light of the fact that he got a lot of criticism after the QPR game, was Mark McGuinness. Everything that went near him was headed away on Saturday. He got in front of the striker a few times as well. He's going to be a threat at opposing set pieces, whether it's going for goal himself or playing that header across goal that we'd like to do for someone at the back stick. He was much better yesterday. It was almost like those first two games were kind of his initiation period. Then the settling in period was the international break, and now he's ready to go.
Yeah, he was probably playing Cardiff football for a few games, wasn't he? And I mean, that's what the situation was.
Certainly conceding as many goals as Cardiff was, that's for sure.
But no, that is what he's been brought in to do. I don't think he's meant to do any of the pretty stuff, but why would he if he's got Reece Burks next to him? So, a lot better, a lot more assured. There was one wobbly moment, well, I thought anyway, when there was a big ball that came over bouncing and there was a slight hesitation, but that was only because of what happened before. I don't think it was in the sort of similar dangerous territory, but I thought it was the entire back line. I think was a very, very solid performance, because for all Millwall's good work, they didn't penetrate Luton, apart from that one moment when Pelly misplaced the pass, and they did, and then Langstaff was able to do what he's probably better at, which is run off the shoulder. Up until then, it wasn't happening, and they had a lot of decent wide men playing as well, a lot of decent pace. Luton nullified it as much as possible. And the only really nervousness I felt was because of a historical nervousness about conceding goals rather than actually the threat that they posed.
Yep, clean sheet for the Town, well-deserved clean sheet. Does Kaminsky get a second clean sheet for that, or does he not get the one at Portsmouth? I don't know how these things work. He only had half an hour. Has he now got a clean sheet and a third of a clean sheet? I don't know, but
I'm not sure how it works.
He hasn't conceded a goal. I mean, that's fact. I just don't know whether it contributes.
I think James Shea will want the clean sheet for that one, given that he contributed 2/3 of it. But either way, Kaminsky's kept a clean sheet, and that'll be good for his confidence as well. That's almost it for the football part of it. However, there are a lot of you that predicted Luton to win the game. we were pretty confident. Well, I was pretty confident that Luton would win the game. Old pessimistic Percy over here was quite happy that it was going to be a draw. And
Say more realistic, Ricky. But, okay.
Well, it wasn't realistic, was it? Because we didn't draw. We won the game. So plenty of shout outs to give. So we said that this season we're going to do results as well as correct scores. So those that predicted a Luton win, John Conroy, well done. 2-1 to him. That was right. Des Jude, 2-0. Soulful Hatter said 2-1. Terry JC 1971 said 3-1. Luton G-Man Rock said 3-0 to Luton. Jack's Dub said 2-1 to Luton. Dazfit UK went with me 2-0 to Luton. We were just the width of the post out. I'm not even going to offer yours because you wasn't here.
It was 2-1 though, Luton.
And Pemble Nick said 4-2 Luton. That would have been a right old game if that one had come in, hadn't it? But there's two really special shout outs. Nick White 7930 and Peter Blessing I8K. You both said Luton to win 1-0 and you were absolutely spot on. So give yourselves a pat on the back. We'll get some sort of leaderboard going, won't we? And you two have got 3 points for that correct score. And it's 1-0 to me in our little battle because I said Luton would win 2-0. And it was only 1-0.
Oh yeah, you did, didn't you? Bugger.
What did you say again?
I went 1-1 with Linus.
You nearly got your wish.
He was praying for that header to go in the last minute, wasn't he? He was cursing Kaminsky for saving.
Thomas
He was cursing him forever and a day. So yeah, well done if you got either Luton to win the game. Lots of you said that, and particularly the two of you that said Luton to win 1-0. And you can thank Kaminsky for that clean sheet part of that. We're going to finish this podcast by talking about something that is way more important than anything that happened on Saturday. And that was on Friday, James, when it was announced by the club that the full planning application for Power Court has gone in front of the council. Probably going to be the better part of a fortnight before it's all approved and up on the council portal, so we believe. But just the news that it's there, it's ready to go to the council in how it's going to be built is just fantastic.
Yeah, there's some boring planning stuff to come, which I do know about, so I could explain it. I don't know if anyone wants to know, but the main thing is that the announcement came out, 2 lovely pictures to start with, another one that St Mary's Church released of the view of what it would be like from the church as well across the road. I think that everybody's largely very, very impressed by the 2 new designs that we've been shown, and obviously the announcement that there will be a hotel and a music venue, which is one of the things that I was very, very excited about from the original plans and was hoping was going to stay, because we know so much has gone wrong since 2016, not from a Luton point of view, from a world point of view, the global pandemic, people changing their shopping habits, Newlands Park, all the plans for that having to be scrapped and sold. Obviously that's going to help fund that was going to help fund the Power Court Stadium even before the Premier League money came in anyway, but that's another extra boost. But the Premier League money allowed that rethink, didn't it? So if you think back to 2016, the original plans were going to be a 17,500 capacity stadium with the potential to go to 23. They've bypassed all that now and just said no, 25. And the plans look absolutely beautiful. The pictures that have come out look beautiful. We await obviously the full details of what that is, and you're right, it's going to take about 2 weeks because the council planning officers have to go over everything that's been submitted.
And this is a big application, let me tell you. This is the trust committee regularly have meetings with the board by the fact that we're shareholders, so one of the first things that's on the agenda of a meeting is an update on Power Court, which we can't always bring you on this podcast because of commerciality, sensitivity, and I'm tied to a confidentiality clause with regards to that, as all shareholders would be in any kind of company.
Doesn't even tell me.
But I can tell you this is a serious sized application that's gone in front of them. So if it takes them a fortnight to go through it all, I'm not surprised.
No, I mean this is natural stuff that happens with council planning applications. It can be quite boring, and they have to validate it. Once it goes up on the site, then that's it sort of open for planning consultation. There'll be a period there where people can write in. Usually at that stage, it's more the stakeholders involved. So like St Mary's Church have said they'll be submitting largely a positive response to that. So it'll be that sort of thing. Sport England, environmental agency, all that sort of stuff. It's quite boring, but we'll get to see what the plans are at that point, because you can go on the website on Luton Council and see probably loads more designs as well, and all the detail of what it will be. But I think hopefully now people can see that it's going ahead and it's going to be built, even if they hadn't taken notice of the fact that there's so much work going on Power Court now. Every time I drive past it to come to this studio, there's a new barrier put up or something else happening. More cranes over there. They're moving the power station, substation, aren't they, and rerouting the river at the moment. But it was good that they were able to tell us that hopefully they want to be able to be starting towards the end of the year, building it with a view to 2027 being in there. So
being completed.
Yeah.
2027. There are people out there who are holding every single word that's said about Power Court. So no, the completion is aimed for 2027. We should add the caveat: the world changes on a daily basis. If it stretches through to 2028 because of something that we can't see happening, I mean, we can see there's going to be a new American president in 2 months' time. That's definitely going to happen.
Where's this going?
Well, no, but that could change how the world's landscape for a few months works, doesn't it? While that all gets sorted out.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that affected us last time. When that happened and all of a sudden a Russian invasion happened sort of 1 week later, it put everything back. It puts prices up for everything else. The world does change at the blink of an eye. So if Gary Sweet has planned this all out to finish in 2027, but something happens like a pandemic and he can't foresee, let's cut him some slack. There's been an awful lot of time gone into this. And if they get there for 2027, absolutely fantastic. We don't yet know whether that will mean we'll be in for the 27-28 season or whether it'll have to be the 28-29 season. I don't know for sure, but I would be surprised if we go into a new stadium halfway through a season. I would imagine, because of all the tests and everything that have to be done and things, which you wouldn't be able to do in a football season, really. I would imagine it will be a start of a season. So
Pretty sure that's what he said anyway,
Yeah.
isn't it?
You'd want that anyway,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? You'd want to know when the final season at Kenilworth Road is. So, if you've got your season ticket, you ain't missing that final game whatsoever. It's going to be that everybody knows that's going to be a very emotional one. But and then you want to start the new season with the new hope of in a new stadium. So yeah, I think that it's wise. There's lots of things you have to do as well, don't you? You have to do test stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you just think of the bobbers. We had to run a test event for the bobbers, new bobbers stand, didn't we, before we could play Premier League football in it. Okay, they did it at a lower level, lower key sort of version with it just open to a few people, but they still had to do it before it was approved for Premier League. So they're going to have to do that, and all of that. But that's all way down the line. What do you make of the plans, Dan? I mean, you've seen the 2 images that have come out.
Yeah.
Stadium does look different.
Yeah.
To what it did in those first plans. It looked like 4 sort of individual stands. It still kind of is, but there's a sort of it's all included in as one in this. But when you get inside, you'll see that it is 4 sort of kind of individual stands as we expected it to. The big one is it's turned around a little bit from that very first plan, just to approve the church a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what that meant, that it had to be turned round to appease the church. I don't know what that means.
Well, I think also when they've worked with the substation to get it out of the way, it's easy to get it out of the way that they're doing it with the stadium this way round as opposed to the first way round, and bringing the river out is all going to be a bit more expensive.
Yeah, and these are things that most people won't realise or won't want to go into detail to look at those finer details as to why it's taken so long. You just see the fact that we had the approval in 2019 and still haven't got a ground, but that is because, like you just said, because of all the problems that we've had and things that you can't foresee. But yeah, to answer your question, it does look impressive. It does look really good. I just hope that we can give it the same sort of feel that we've given Kenilworth Road all these years, because the amount of players I hear that come to play Luton. I mean, the amount of signings we've had that have said, I've played here as an opposing player and I really can't wait to play as a home player because it was horrible. And we need to give that needs to be a huge factor in Power Court, and from what Gary's been saying about it and the board, etc., and the people behind it, that the idea is to make it as close and as authentic as close to Kenilworth Road as possible.
Yeah, we're led to believe that the amount of attention to detail that has gone into the sort of structure of the indoor part of, or the football inside part of Power Court is so strong and so stringent that they're doing. They can't replicate Kenilworth Road. It's hard. It's a special place. It's completely different. But they will be as close as they possibly can. The roofs of the stands will be shaped in the same sort of way that Kenilworth Road is. With a bid to keep in the atmosphere within the stands and everything else. But it won't be Kenilworth Road. There will be a bit more space around the pitch. It's just that's just the way it is. If Kenilworth Road was built now, it would be built completely different, wouldn't it? It's just the way things have happened. But yeah, there is an awful lot of detail gone into keeping the intensity and the intimidation factor to the point of where they're going to put away fans and everything else. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're going to be speaking about this for the best part of 2.5 years now, and we can't wait to do it. We've been speaking about it. One of the reasons why we launched this podcast 8 seasons ago is because we knew that Power Court was on the horizon. You worked covering the original public presentation. I worked for the club on behalf of the club at that presentation at the Hat Factory and various other places around Luton. And now here we are. It's actually there it will be there in black and white and colour on the council portal within the next fortnight that Power Court is officially going ahead, and we'll know exactly how it's going ahead. And it's just fantastic, not just for the football club. And kudos to everyone involved. Right, there is an awful lot of work gone on for this. Board members, current, former board members, people like Mick Moran, who's absolutely huge behind this. The architects, the designers, everyone who's been involved in this. It's a massive, massive, massive operation just to get us here. Absolutely fantastic, and we just so look forward to the next 2.5 years seeing its progress.
Yeah, I really can't wait. But I knew it was going ahead anyway. Our closeness to it, relative closeness to it, we were confident it was going to go ahead. The key one was those planning decisions in 2019. Once that happened, you knew it was going ahead. It was just how they were going to fund it, and they always had the money to it, or they always had the plans of how to fund it. It's just that's changed through various things. The pandemic is one, and the prices going up. Newlands Park was going to fund it, sort of a continuous basis, I guess. But then they had to sell that. I drove past that today. There's the logistics park or whatever's going to be there now, which is not as exciting as
might as well be called the eyesore.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be. It's going to be for business. It's not going to be for the people, which is a shame. And that's again nothing to do with Luton. That's it was going to be a large amount of retail up there. People don't go shopping in the way that they did. So that's all changed. So they sold that off, and that was going to fund Power Court, and that was true. That's what was going to happen. And then the Premier League money has come in, and it's allowed them to be bigger, bolder, better, and everything they've said in that press release that came out on Friday. So I had no unwavering doubt that it was ever not going to happen. But I understand there are people in there that have followed the club longer than I have, that have seen plans come and go and nothing happen. And until you see some building work maybe springing out of the ground, I can understand why they might be feeling like that. But I can assure you it is going to happen. One of the things that I saw quite a lot on maybe message boards and social media message boards. No, there are some.
Like year 2000.
There are some message boards, but they were saying, "Well, why have they now just put in plans?" But this is where the planning situation comes in this country. I think planning in this country is a mess, and the rules and stuff around planning, but they make it too complicated.
It's designed to stop things going ahead rather than to enhance things going ahead.
It's designed to stop your cola domes of the world getting the green light.
But even something that makes sense, you still got to go through so much red tape. At some stage, if you're not committed to what you're doing, you're going to think, what the is the point in this? It's taking too long. I'll go and build it in Dubai or wherever, where it can just go up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that is part of the problem. But I mean, like you said, James, the 2019 one was the official, we are getting a new ground, but that was only the kind of outline plans.
Yeah.
Because that's all that needed to go in.
Yeah.
Detailed plans always needed to go in ahead of that. Well, how can you put detailed plans in during a pandemic when you don't know where your next pound's coming from, or guarantee your next pound? You can't. Then once you've got out of the pandemic, you suddenly realise that everything's gone up cost-wise 30 to 35%. So all of a sudden the plans that you did have prior to the pandemic got to be rewritten because you can't afford half of the stuff that you could. Then you get to the Premier League and all of a sudden all the stuff that you couldn't afford, you suddenly can afford. So we'll put that back in. And then it's like, do you know what? Rather than step by step, let's just, we're having the whole shebang. We can afford the whole shebang now. We're going for it now before anything else comes along and curtails any of that. But you can now they need to know exactly what you're having, as opposed to in the past, they just need the kind of outline structure of it all.
Yeah, that was going to be my point, that the outline planning in 2019 says that that's going to happen. You've got approval to build what you say you're going to build, but it doesn't say, I'm going to build this part of the stadium in this way, building this material. That's what the detailed is, and it's not. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I guess it's not particularly sexy when you've been told, right, we're going to have a new stadium. There's going to be a hotel there. Might be some housing around it. The river's going to be moved, so you sort of know what's going to happen, but they have to then tell the planners and the builders how that is going to happen, and that's part of what goes into it there. So I'm looking forward to seeing all that stuff. The point you made, and you probably can't say much about it to us, but I think I've heard somewhere along this great long project that's happened that they've taken a lot of time to consult audio experts about how you can keep the noise inside Kenilworth Road. So I'd love to see that brought out and explained as how that could happen, because that's going to be a very big part of it. I think, they have to try and get it as close as possible to the sensory experience, perhaps, of being in Kenilworth Road, even knowing that it won't be. And I also would say to people, it probably won't feel. You'll be absolutely excited to be there. It's going to take a while to feel like home. So you won't go there on the first day and go, yeah, you'll be impressed. Probably you go, oh, that's new. That's brilliant. Look at that. All this lovely stuff. But you don't, like when you move house, it takes a while for it to be your home, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
And that's what's going to happen. So there are all these different elements. But I just think that planning in this country is not very well understood or very well explained, and I can understand why people go, well, why are they only just putting in plans now? And it's not. They've got the plans. They're putting in different plans to what they had, because so much has gone on. And the plans, when you change them, you can't just go, right, we're going to spend the weekend and stay up all night and change them. They take months and months and months and months, and then you have all different stakeholders to run it by, basically.
Yeah.
All that, some of the ones that I mentioned, you have to go, all right, Sport England, you happy with that? Environmental agency, you happy with that? And then they're not just going waiting for Gary Sweet to pick up the phone. They have to write to them, and then they'll go, we'll get our assessors on that. And then that takes ages. And it's just so long and drawn out.
Such a long drawn
everything.
process.
I think Brighton Stadium took 10 years to get from the original idea to them playing in. It took 10 years.
Yeah.
And I know some others have not taken that long, like maybe the Spurs one and stuff like that. But
they were on the same site, though, weren't they? The Spurs one, so you wouldn't expect that to take quite as long. I mean, with regards to this, are you absolutely right about home and everything? And you are right that an awful lot has gone into keeping the sort of sensory feel to it. And maybe that's to the detriment of the time levels that it's taken, because if they just stuck up a new ground with 4 sides on it and said, well, here we go, and we'll have to do what we can, they might even have got it built before the pandemic, but they didn't want that. They wanted as close a replica to Kenilworth Road in the heart of the town centre as they possibly could, and all of the side bits that are going to go with it that are going to enhance the town's economy, as well as the football club's finances. So in its own weird way, the length of time is a benefit to us because we're going to get a better experience in the ground than what we might have done if they'd just rushed it through and just got it up and then we're there.
It makes no sense to rush it through either, because this is a once in many, many lifetimes.
This is going to be our home forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You do it right now, and then you don't have the pain further down the line. I mean, even to the point where the original plans were, we'll start at 17 and a half, but with the ability to add on if we get any more. Don't forget, when these plans were announced, we're in League Two. And then we got to Premier League last season, so that's how things change. And Luton have just gone on up and up and up on the football pitch, and then why not make the most of that opportunity when it comes along, and it has.
Absolutely, yeah. What we will do is we'll wait this 2 weeks for the plans to go up in front of the council.
That's 2 weeks, possibly. I mean, it's not in Luton's hands anymore. So if there's any delays, that's council planning officers, and that's not digging them out or anything. They probably haven't got enough. It's probably a massive undertaking to do it. Who knows? It's and you won't get the council telling you how long it's going to take either. It would just appear. No,
hopefully there's a bit of an urge to get this not rushed through, but get this through as quickly as what they can do. We will wait until it's all appeared on the council planning and everything. Then I'll get in touch with members of the 2020 developments team to see if anyone, just get people on the podcast so they can chat us through their the parts that they've played with regards to Power Court, and we'll start doing some Power Court centric podcasts in alongside the football ones that we do, so that we can bring you as up to date as we possibly can throughout this whole, what we hope will be 2.5 year process. That's it for this episode of the podcast. Well done, as we said earlier, to everyone that picked Luton to win, particularly the two that picked Luton to win 1-0. Thank you for watching or listening, however it is that you've consumed this podcast. My thanks to James and Dan for joining me to look back at the town's first win, what we hope will be many wins this season. Thanks also to the Barber Club and the lower level for hosting our new studio. We really appreciate your support, guys. To Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. Until next time, where we will be previewing what we hope will be back-to-back wins at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Come on, you Atters, we've got this.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.